Okay, 3 o'clock, I'm going to call the meeting to order, and we'll have the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Anybody want to lead an invocation?
I've got my last week that I wasn't here.
Okay, Donna.
Okay, thank you. Dear God, thank you for this time to gather and deliberate the business of the trail peacefully and collectively. Thank you for our board and the communities they serve. Thank you for our manager, our citizens rep, and all the volunteers, past and present, including on TV, well, Oxford TV, that help make this trail great. Please help us as we look for continued alternative funding to help preserve the community and the treasure of the Pollyant Trail. And this we pray in your son's name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Donna.
I think I got it all in there, didn't I?
I think so.
Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Bruce Pearson, absent. Eric Sent, absent. Donnie Steele.
Here.
Aaron Watley.
Here.
Elgin Nichols here. Curtis Wright.
Here.
Mike McDonald. Here. Joe Frost, absent. You have a quorum. Oh, one more thing. Linda Moran.
Here.
And Kevin Green.
Here.
Now you have a
We have a quorum to operate here. Okay, a couple changes on the agenda. We're going to add under 9, new business, we're going to add item B, long waste on the Pollyant Trail. And we're going to add under item 10, we're going to add item C, the website update. So with that, we'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Make a motion that we approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Nichols, second by Councilor McDonald to approve the agenda as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion does carry. Next in front of us, we have our consent agenda. Board members, it's a little bit different. I'm not sending out Linda's time sheets that she does submit for the payroll, so if there's an issue with that, let me know, but I did send that subsequent to the board packet, so if you wanted any background on the bills or anything like that, it was included. So if there's no other discussion, Donnie?
I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes for February 20th, the bills to be paid in the amount of $35.6210, and receive and file the financial reports for February 2019. But I have a change on the minutes that I found, and I was wondering if you can
Verify?
if anybody remembers this. So when we discussed the website and the Facebook updates, and it was a motion to allocate up to $420, I said including the passwords, that she had to provide the passwords along with fixing it. So I would just like to make that note, and if not here, maybe even at the later time in the agenda, just because I think it's necessary that we get those passwords from Lois.
So maybe what we could do is, when we get to that agenda item, we can put that in the formal motion.
Okay.
We'll get into the minutes then.
Okay, fair enough.
So we'll go ahead and do that. So we have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Councilor Steele, Treasurer Steele, and second by Councilor McDonald to approve the consent agenda as presented. Roll call, please.
Bruce Pearson, absent. Eric Sent, absent. Donnie Steele.
Yes.
Aaron Watley.
Yes.
Elgin Nichols, yes. Curtis Wright.
Yes.
Mike McDonald.
Yes.
Joe Frost, absent. Carries. Oops, yep. That's it.
Okay.
Go erasures.
All right, public comment. Any public comment out there? All right, hearing none, we'll move on our agenda. Citizen rep report. Kevin, anything new to report?
No report.
A report on that, okay. Moving on, trail manager report.
All right.
You're up, Linda.
All right. Well, we'll start with the website. I've been spending a lot of time with the website. We had an outage of our emails. I did meet with Lois on March 6th at the Paint Creek Trail offices. They have a secure internet and it was mutually reachable by both of us. We did work on it for quite some time, and I was pretty confident we had it fixed. We did have a couple more outages after that, but as of right now, the emails are up and running. The website is not. There's something on the internet. It's basically like a skeleton website. I wouldn't even really consider it. It's not usable. That's pretty much on the website. Mile markers. We have the post. The company we had contracted to make the signs for the post told us late in the game that they were not able to make the signs we needed. I did contact several other people. Pet Boys in Auburn Hills, which is through Orion Chamber of Commerce. I did make contact with Randy. He gave us a pretty decent price. It's a couple $100 more than what we were paying with the original company, but he can make them. I think he'll do a really good job. I did authorize that. It's still about $900 less than I was authorized to spend. So I hate spending
It's
money.
within budget.
It's well within budget. It's $689.10, so it's $239.10 more than the first company. The other prices I was getting were at $780 and $909. So this is definitely cheaper, and I think they'll do a good job for us. Iron Bell Grant, round 5. I got notification from Donnie and Kristen Wilfang that the Iron Bell Grant 5 is coming out for monies. I did get some stuff together, and I did apply for a fix-it station for Clarkston Road. Cement pad, bike rack, the whole deal, making a nice little center there. It is the end of the Iron Bell right now in this location. We're the furthest north it goes. Right there at Clarkston is where it ends. So I'm hopeful. I did talk to the rep, and he said send it in, and see, we should find out in June. Unfinished business, well, finished business. Curtis and I did apply for the credit card through Chase. We have a $13,000 limit on it. Curtis has a credit card, I have a credit card, and Joe Ferrari has a credit card. Curtis and I did set up an online bank account for it, so we can actually look at it in real time. Just a very short period of time we've had it, and the purchases I've made, we already have cash back pending of almost $18. So, it's something. So it's working out well. So anybody who wants to look at it, they can go online and take a look at it. We did receive a check for $409.98 for our DTE MDNR tree grant. It was deposited into our checking account. The dog waste boxes. Lance Kennedy finished his little Eagle Scout project, and it is fabulous. He built and installed 7 new dog waste bag boxes. We have them from the village of Oxford into Orion Township. They go as far south as the Clarkston Road, as far north as Powell Street in the village of Oxford. I'm hoping to get some more made. His commitment's done, but I'm going to get the design and make some more and hopefully get them up in Leonard. I think it'll be great. We did buy some biodegradable bags, which I think is good. I don't want to add any more to the plastic waste we already have, and these bags will biodegrade. The gator, I have it. I have a logo on it. It's hidden away. It's chained to something heavy. She's mine. I can't wait to get her out on the trail. Kind of been staying off the trail a little bit. It's really mushy, and I just don't want to rut it up. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll be out there. We've been staying pretty much on the asphalt section and only walking down the trail when we have to remove a tree. I have no event requests at this time, and I did get notification that $8,500 from Schneider is in the mail. We received notification on Thursday that the check was in the mail, so I've been checking the mailbox every day, and so far. Curtis and I did meet with Keith Potter for our insurance, and more on that later. Let's see, I did not know this, but I found this out recently. I received a call from the Michigan Department of Natural Resources. Apparently, every year when we renew our insurance policy, we're supposed to forward a copy of it to the DNR, and they keep it on file as part of our lease agreement. I didn't know that, and the lady I spoke to said they had not received one since 2008. So I'm not the only one that didn't know. So starting immediately, I'll be sending that in every year, and I'll have it on my list of things to do. Once that renews, we'll send her one and keep Wind damage. With all the winds we had here, I only had 1 or 2 little trees come down. The trail was actually in fabulous shape. There's some twigs, but nothing major. I think that our vertical cut and our active program of removing dead trees or anything that's looking a little wonky is really starting to pay off. Cutting the vines, it's taking a lot of weight off of our trees, and I'm really hoping that we'll have some good success with that. The interlocal agreement, I talked to Curtis about sending a copy over to Mrs. Carlock at the trust fund for approval. I have not, yesterday I got confirmation that the DNR is receiving our emails. So that being said, I will forward her a copy of our new interlocal agreement for her approval or her thoughts to see if it would work for trust fund grants. But up until Thursday, they weren't receiving anything from us. But they did confirm yesterday that they did receive one, so the emails are going to the DNR again. And that's pretty much it. It's been a really quiet month.
Donnie?
Just to see if we have talked about the trail cutting. I noticed it wasn't on the report, and we're already in March. Don't we usually do it at the beginning of the year?
The vertical cut?
No, the
Just
lawn.
lawn.
The lawn.
One cut? I don't know what
That's
the
a
schedule
two-year
is.
contract, yeah. We did agree last year that it was a 2-year contract.
Thank you. Okay.
And that up to my discretion, it could be extended up to a 3rd-year contract. Pete does a great job. His prices are reasonable. I don't see any reason not to just go ahead and just automatically renew that. You know, it's doing great, and it alleviates a lot of paperwork, advertisement, if we do it every couple of years instead of every year.
Do you have him on a schedule?
Yes, I do.
He is on us?
Yeah. He does it right before the big holidays, Memorial Day, 4th of July, and then Labor Day.
Okay.
And last year, because of the rain, we did have to do it a 4th time, because the grass was really...
Is that agreement, when does it expire, the 2-year? I know it's in 2020, but is it like in February or
I
something?
think it's February, yeah.
Okay.
But we can't extend it up to a 3rd year without, you know.
So we just need to make note now and needs to come back up to extend our,
Yeah, I think we just extended another year. Yeah, just keep it going.
and Aaron?
You know we do mow our section of the...
Yes, he also mows it too. So what happens with that is it works out really great, then we get a double mow. And we can coordinate when he mows and when you guys mow. Because anytime we can get an extra mow in there, it really keeps the brush back. And when I bring the WAM down in Orion too, we also mow. And, you know, I don't know how often you guys mow.
Usually it's every other week.
Okay, and you know, it just, especially in the high seasons, man, May and June, you can mow it every day, and it's just taken over,
Yeah.
so.
And I was just thinking if you can cut costs where you can, then...
Yeah, I'll look at it, if, you know, maybe we can just have him mow it, you know, I'll talk to him and we'll see what can work out, because he's very reasonable, and somebody unknown to us has been plowing the pay section between Drainer and Burdick, and I don't know who it is. We had made an arrangements with Parks and Rec, and they said it wasn't them because they asked me who had been plowing it. I talked to the DPW, and they don't know who's been doing it because it wasn't them. So I think I asked Pete, he said, no, it wasn't me. So we have a good Samaritan running around, but I'd like to either say, hey, thanks, or, you know, so I've got to pull some cameras and find out where they're at. I have the cameras I had up, I didn't catch them on it, so. Yeah. So we have a good Samaritan running around the township of Oxford.
Well, let's hope the plowing season's over.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding.
Anything more for the manager report, Mike?
Well, maybe not directly for the manager, but for the council. And Lyndon and I have discussed it in the past, but like with the Clarkston Trailhead, I mean, we've never formally called it anything. I mean, it's always kind of been referred to by proximity to the road. And I had suggested to Linda a while back that we should coordinate with each community and get a formal name designated for the purposes of the trail and for our maps, etc. You know, I think the council should remain in control as far as approving the name, but we shouldn't, I don't think we should just tell the community what we want to call it without working with them and trying to get that done. And it could be done in every, you know, for a lot of ours. I don't think, and I'm not aware of, that there aren't any other naming motions or anything in our records, at least as far back as 2008, which I think I have that Breakfield's minutes. And I didn't find any there, so just I'm throwing it out there because we're talking about, grants and geographic areas that we should all have a common identity for them. Maybe it's making mountains out of molehills, but...
So you're looking at trying to basically name the parking lot, the Clarkson Trailhead parking lot, to something else?
Well, not necessarily, but I'm just saying we formalize what we're going to call it. Is it the Clarkson Trailhead? Is it the Powell Street? Is it the Clarkson Road Trail? You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of like saying, give it an identity, and that's the identity. Everybody knows what we're talking about.
Give it a branding.
There you go.
So that would probably be, two of you would probably be the ones that would have the most say in that.
Well,
And ITC donates $50,000, we'll name it the ITC park.
Where's this $50,000?
Yeah, I'm just saying, that could be something.
If they commit to every year, sure.
Yeah.
Hey, if they do a one-off, I'll take it. We'll name it anything we
Just
want.
kidding.
Yeah.
Well, we have two in ours, and you guys have a couple, and everybody's got their couple, but like, maybe to be able to get more grants on that corner, that it's the Iron Bell Trailhead, that we name it something to do with the Iron Bell, just as a thought,
Like
too.
Schneider parking lot.
The Dem Trail or something.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea. Mark Leonard is the Bianca, correct?
But no, that was never formally named. It was on the sign, but it's always been called the Leonard Trailhead.
So what we'll do then for next meeting is identify the areas that need to be renamed if that's the case, and bring them together, then we'll discuss, and then make a decision or discuss further, or drop it.
I like the idea.
So
Appreciate it.
We'll move that forward, and sort of like the Powell Park we call it. So you want-
Exactly.
If that's what you want to call
It would
it.
be the Bel Air Park, the Sue Bel Air Park.
We also have the Powell Park, which is behind the library in Oxford Township.
Powell Lake.
So everybody's like, well, is it Powell Park or Powell Lake, or what are we talking here? So it does get a bit confusing when you're trying to, the only thing we have now is Powell Park has an address, because I had it designated with an address. Yeah, oh yeah, because I can't get any building permits for anything.
You got a violation on it.
Where is?
I did not accept one.
Which one is the Powell Park?
Powell Park is 37 Powell Street, right in the village of Oxford.
Is that where the Sue Bel Air?
Yes.
is? Okay.
And we're gonna do some work out there this year. We're gonna shush that
But it's all,
good,
that goes to my point.
Exactly.
Addison Township built
Yeah.
a parking lot there on Lake George, but what do we call it? We kind of refer to it as the parking lot on Lake George, but if we give it a brand, I think it'll work for the whole trail,
So Linda, do you know all these locations?
Do I know all these locations? Yes.
So I'll work with you on this, and we'll bring this to the council next month, and these are the areas we have, and what they're so-called named now, and go from there.
Yeah, I think, we can come up with some, anybody, I'll ask around. We could even have a naming contest. Put a name on a piece of paper and $5 in a bucket, and you can, There.
It could be an idea.
That could be a monster right there.
We'll present that and see where it goes. Name the parks.
And on a side note, with our parking lot on Indianwood Road, we hung a bunch of bluebird houses out there, and the bluebirds are moving in like crazy. I took some pictures, but of course, they weren't that good. But the bluebirds are moving in, so they like our new parking lots. Yeah.
Any other thoughts, ideas before we move on to new business? All right, moving on, we're going to the MMRMA insurance policy renewal. As Linda indicated, her and I did, Keith Potter, he gave me a good education on our insurance and how we pay and what we're getting for our service there. And in a nutshell, we're in a pool with a lot of other people in the policy itself, so based upon the experience determines whether or not we get reimbursed. And in the packet, you'll see on page 6, no, this is right here. Well, it's page 101, it's the last page, you'll see that, Linda's mentioned this before, but we were reimbursed $1,259. I guess that's forthcoming, right, Linda?
As soon as we sign on the dotted line, he will send us a check.
So based upon experiences, depending on how much each municipality gets back for the refund, if anything. So the policy's going up $65, but there is increased coverages in some of the policy descriptions in there. So if there's any discussion on that, I mean, pretty much the policy is the same as what it was.
I'll move to approve the insurance coverage proposal from the Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority in the amount of $2,894 for the period of February 25th, 2019 to February 25th, 2020. The $2,894 amount to be expensed to account 298-853-910.001, Insurance Pollyant Trail, and authorize Chairman Curtis Wright to sign the proposal on behalf of the Pollyant Trailway Management Council.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Councilor McDonald, second by Councilor Nichols to approve the MMRMA insurance renewal policy. Can we get a roll call, please?
Bruce Pearson absent. Eric Sent is here.
Yes.
Okay, Donnie Steele.
Yes.
Aaron Watley.
Yes.
Elgin Nichols, yes. Curtis Wright.
Yes.
Mike McDonald.
Yes.
Joe Frost absent.
Okay, that motion carries. And now we're on to the Pollyant Trail Management Council interlocal agreement.
Oh,
No,
I
we
have
added an item.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, my mistake there. Long ways down the Pollyant Trail, Linda.
With spring coming, fall was late last year, and there was a lot of long ways. We have some homeowners on the trail, that back up to the trail, that are consistently dumping their lawn waste. I've cleaned up probably half a dozen Christmas trees off the trail. They just take them, open up the back door, chuck them on the trail, figuring they'll decompose. We have a couple of areas where the lawn waste is so much that it is falling down the 25 feet of the Pollyant Trail right-of-way and is coming onto the trail. I mean, we're talking probably a ton of lawn waste over the last few years. I would like to work with the chairperson or someone to structure a letter that basically indicates that it's not allowed and that there are rules and regulations, ordinances in each one of our communities. I do have the ordinance for Oxford, and I also have the ordinance for Orion. So I know, I haven't talked to Leonard, but I'm sure Leonard has a ordinance about, you can't dump stuff on other people's property, it's illegal. The village, I know, has it, and they enforce it pretty heavily. I don't have much of a problem. But I just wanted something formally recognized that we can send letters. I have sent letters and emails to homeowners associations where they have homeowners associations basically saying, you can't do this. I try really hard to keep stuff off the trail. I try to haul the stuff that we cut away, dump it in appropriate areas, and I can't keep up with it. It's becoming an increasing problem, and I think if we don't stop it, it's going to become the norm. We're going to just be looking at it, it's a recycling center out there. So that's the story.
So how would you distribute the letter? I mean, would you just blanket it to the people?
No, I mean, I have the addresses of the homeowners. I would go get the addresses to the homeowners. I would go to the tax office. I would get the name of the owner of the property, and I would address it directly to them and send them a letter. And owners of the property are responsible for it. And most of these properties are owned. I mean, I think one might be rented.
Who would be compiling the verbiage for the
Well,
letter?
I would like to have council's feedback on it. You can write a letter, but you don't want it to be, I want it approved by council. I don't want it to be something that I just write up and,
Have we had a case like this before? Do we have a previous letter for history?
We have had some where they have built bridges on the trail, or they've built fences. Basically, we sent a note or a letter basically saying they had 30 days to correct the violation, or we would remove it and then send them a bill. That's what we've done in the past. Because this is ongoing in much larger situation, we just kind of wanted clarification that each time that we've had an infraction with a bridge or a fence, I brought it to council. The council has basically given me guidance. So I don't know how Orion handles it, you know.
Well, I would think first you warn them, right?
Yeah.
And then the condition you just mentioned with the bridge and the other cases, at their expense, it will be removed.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to say, if Linda would compile a letter that, in that context, and review it maybe with the chairman, and bring it back to the board.
That sounds good.
Do we really need to see it? I mean,
I don't think so. I think it's pretty,
I think we should,
clear.
I think what we need to do is kind of indemnify Linda and the council by the council directing Linda to draft in cooperation with the chairperson, a notification letter requesting cooperation in managing dumping on the trail. And between the two of them, they can
Should that be a
figure it out.
motion, Mike? Is that what you
I'll
said?
make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor McDonald, second by Councilor Sump to authorize the trail manager and the Pollyant Trail Council chairman to draft a letter to address potential people that are putting trash on the Pollyant Trail. Any further discussion? Aye.
I just know that, like our ordinance, if you tell them, they'll go out there and look at it. So you just you somehow have to make it in conjunction with,
Right. And I
so
can
they have
also,
at least a copy of it, so they know. I don't know what the connection.
Where is this infraction at? Which township?
we have two in Orion at the moment. We have 3 in the township of Oxford and 1 in the village of Oxford. So I can do a letter, send a letter to the ordinance officers or the offices, and then also to the homeowners.
And I just remember when we did this with Tanview, and then the attorney ended up looking at it, we got a big fat bill. So, just making sure that we don't go down that trail.
We won't be going on that trail.
Well, anybody could call an attorney. I don't think, it wasn't our language or our letter, it was the fact that we were asserting our property rights that they were taking offense with. So I think this is a relatively mundane matter, in my view. But as neighbors, we are property owners, we're neighbors to these people, send them a letter asking them not to do it, and if they continue to do it, then we pursue the ordinance enforcement or whatever we decide we have to do.
In like the Oxford Township has a $500 penalty. I think it's like $50 the first time and then onward and upward. And, it's leaves and sticks and whatnot, but I get calls and complaints every day about the Pollyant Trail doing maintenance and dumping leaves and sticks on the trail and how unsightly it is. But it's the homeowners in a lot of these instances where they're doing it. It's not me. I'm not dumping this stuff. And I'm making a big effort and a big push to actually pull anything that is taken down either by the vertical cut or by the wind, myself or the WAM crew, taking it off the trail to make it more presentable. And we can get, and it's becoming a little frustrating. So anyway, that's it.
Okay, if there's nothing further, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the letter will be written and we'll have an update at our next meeting. Okay, now we're moving on to the Pollyant Trail Management Interlocal Agreement. In your packet, members, first of all, Aaron, thank you so much for retyping this. It's quite an effort, I'm sure, that we do it, so appreciate that. I'm sure the council does as well. The first copy is the clean copy that Aaron redid. The second one is just only my thoughts into the interlocal agreement. We may have more on that, but What I'd like to do is take this right from the top and work it through unless you have any objections to that. So what I did is, I underlined items in red that are already existing in there, then just put comments in blue to distinguish it. The first one on page 2, under section 3, governance, the council shall be composed of 2 members of each member unit. To me, that's pretty difficult for the villages to comply with. I mean, the townships, of course, are all set. But the villages, Mike's representing the village of Leonard. He doesn't have anybody else, according to what this says. My other issue with that is, talking with Joe Medor from the village of Oxford, is the suggestion that he be one of the persons that would be allowed to serve on council. The issue that may come up is that he's not an elected official. Does that prohibit him from sitting on the council itself? So that's one hurdle to get rid of there. So do you want to change that to 2 members from the membrane townships, 1 from each village, or leave it the way it is, or something else? So the floor is open. Eric?
Well, I think too, from the township, that should stay. The village, I don't know how would that work, Mike?
I think we've been doing, tradition has kind of ruled this situation. Townships have usually had 2 representatives, like on Minota and
Right.
what's the other one?
No.
Anyway, the trick here is that if you read it, the townships that have 2 only have 1 voting. It's just the official, which in a sense makes sense, but we haven't treated it that way for apparently years and years and years. So rather than rock the boat, I concur that we leave the current language but add the exception for, or permission or authorization for a community, a village to appoint a village manager or representative in lieu of an elected official.
Well, based upon the attendance of the village of Oxford, or lack of, just to get the representation opens the door for them to at least potentially attend council meetings. Danny?
But if you just leave it, they have the right to have a village resident, and they do the appointing, right? And then they could sit on the board, so.
Well, actually, the townships are the same way.
So they can pick anybody they want in the village to sit.
Right.
If they are not able as a governing body, but technically, they're not
They
allowed
couldn't
to vote.
They
Right.
couldn't vote. I think Kevin Green represents that interest for the entire trail.
Yes.
And that's the way that's the way it's been done. So I'm fine with the current situation, but I just wanted to make everyone aware of it.
And I have a different question. If I'm absent, can he vote in my absence?
He can vote, have 1 vote.
1 vote
One
per
vote
per
per
community.
representative.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was
So
thinking because
that's how it is right now, 1 vote for,
Either one of us.
so for example, today Bruce is gone,
You're
I
voting
vote
for
for
absence.
Addison. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah.
Hold it.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm with Mike on this one.
So to rephrase, you want to leave it at 2 members. 2 members, and you want to have the option to have the village manager as one of the reps. Is that what I'm understanding?
As if so designated by the community. Because, functionally, Joe Young's done that on just about every community, every, council or meeting committee that the village has.
It was not voting?
No, he was.
So
We all kind of vote, folks. Kevin's the one that usually gets left out, but
Yeah, but because if you have 2 from the village and they appoint, their council appoints the manager and person at large, they get 1 vote between the 2 of them. Well, they have no governing, yeah, but if the governing person never shows up, then they can pick whoever they want.
But they
need
still
to pick them though.
I see.
Yeah, they don't.
Well, if they're going to pick them, so why should we like bend our whole bylaws for something that they won't even pick to even come to the meetings to begin with? So it's like,
Yeah, I mean, the townships could elect not to have their non-voting citizen as well attend, which is pretty much what's happening.
Okay, all right, so the council, I'm gathering, we're going to leave this as is, and we're going to include additional language for the potential for the village manager.
Yeah, that
All right, okay, for that one. Okay, next one, moving on to number 2, at least every 2 years, every member unit shall certify to the council that the person's appointed pursuant to section 3A1. I'm not aware that that's been done. It's assumed that as far as the township-wide, once you're appointed, you're there for your term of 4 years on there.
That's basically what our bylaws say too, currently, that the elected officials serve for their term.
Is your term 4 years too, Mike?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that pretty much answers that question. Item 3, non-voting citizen at large shall serve a 2-year term commencing from the date of appointment. I wasn't aware that we reappointed Kevin in 2017, so it looks like that's something that we need to do administratively as far as the council to reappoint Kevin as a citizen rep. So we'll,
Be on the calendar.
We should have the calendar.
When-
The calendar.
Kevin, you said you were appointed in February 2015?
I'm not sure what month, but I went back and looked and I saw my name in the minutes.
Okay.
Like October 2015 was the first time I saw it.
Okay.
Somewhere in 2015.
So what I'll do is, if council has no objection, bring that back in April to formally appoint Kevin, because it's not on the
As
agenda.
long as he'll accept.
Yeah.
As long as you want. Well,
Take it all for
my only comment is, I mean, I serve at the board's pleasure, and if you need some turnover, some fresh blood and stuff, I certainly understand that, but certainly willing to continue to serve, because I have been on the board since 2015.
Sure.
So, whatever you...
Okay. We'll find out in April if you're coming back.
I don't know. Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
personally, I would recommend him. I kind of like the guy.
I know where he lives.
Okay, as I move on, if there's something else that you want to talk about on this, feel free to stop me in the process.
I was wondering if we have adopted bylaws, but there is no direction or recognition of them or suggestion in the interlocal agreement itself to do so. So I would like to suggest that we include another paragraph under council governance that that the council shall adopt bylaws pursuant to the purpose and activities of this agreement and consistent with, actually that's redundant, but consistent with the intergovernmental agreement.
So you put that as item number A6?
Six,
A6.
right.
All right, why don't you send that to me, Mike?
Okay.
I'll incorporate that into hopefully the final draft.
If everybody concurs, I mean, I just think that kind of closes the loop and authorizes those bylaws and makes them officially recognized by us.
Yeah, they tie them together. Okay, moving on to page 3.
I have, wait, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Two, under, it's just a typo, under 1, secretary,
Oh,
the E is
capitalized.
capitalized, yeah.
Yep.
And then I just, a date, I think, should be on every single page, because I know that I had 3 copies combined into one, and it
Oh, I see what you're saying as far as from the draft form?
yeah, amended on such and such a date.
Okay.
Because I noticed that on the Paint Creek Trail, on their, if you notice, they have it, I think that's a nice addition.
Oh, amended, yeah. That'll be on there once we finalize it, but I see what you're saying from the draft form, know which one you...
Yeah, and it, like every page, because mine have converged.
So I have the date. Okay, moving on, page 3. Item 4, the treasurer shall have custody of all council funds, which shall be deposited, invested, and/or dispersed by the treasurer as directed by the council. The treasurer shall be charged with ensuring complete financial records and records as required by this agreement or applicable law or contract provisions. And I just raised the point, is that something that we as council direct where money goes, or once, in this case, Oxford Township's in charge of the financial standing, does Oxford Township make that decision for council?
We made the decision to hire like a bookkeeper, because there used to be a bookkeeper, and then Joe took over. Well, there was, yeah, anyways, it was kind of like the managers. It's like pass. But we directed who the bookkeeper could be, so I don't know if we need to make that. Like we
I don't
have-
either. What I'm saying is, if it's our money, should we direct how we want it invested, or do we let Oxford Township do that on our behalf?
State law says that in governmental units, the treasurer has the authority and can make that decision. But I think for our purposes, we should maintain control over where and how that money is deposited. And I believe it's in Oxford Bank, right?
It's in Oxford Bank,
It's all
yeah.
there right now.
Yeah.
So,
And Curtis and I have talked about and looked at maybe possibly making some changes as far as higher yield savings accounts, safe. I mean, not like,
Yeah, that's been the makeup of Oxford Township: safety first, then liquidity, then the yield on the money. See, Donnie, I don't know how you do it on your end.
Same.
But that's something I think from council standpoint, that if you've got a better input on where the money's going, it'd be a good idea, I think, for council's purposes. I mean, if you, I guess I'd look back to you to tell us how we're doing from a treasurer's standpoint. Our money's being invested, if it's a good idea, because you probably have different accounts than we do from a Warren Township standpoint. Bigger budget, number one, so actually get better yields maybe.
Yeah,
But you know, the language is fine, just a matter of
we should
who
do
directs the
something
money.
right.
Yeah, so I guess
So the red is you added.
the red is what exists now, blue is just my comments.
I see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not looking to change the language, I'm just saying, okay,
You're just focusing in on that word.
yeah, if Oxford Township makes an investment, do you say, good idea, or I've got something better? So, just give that some thought.
I think if you leave it as fine, and I haven't done anything because it's just been right at about $80,000 to $100,000, and there was no sense moving it into anything else.
Mhm.
But I think that's probably a bad treasure.
Not necessarily, there's not much interest rates to
Yeah,
go on.
the only,
2%,
the
yeah.
real concern is when you get over 250,000, then your money is not protected by the FDIC or whoever, so you want to make sure that you've not crossing that
Yeah,
barrier
you divided it out.
either. And we're not, so,
Yeah, it's hard to go over that amount, especially municipalities.
right.
Moving on, section 4A1, just to make sure that we're posting our meeting schedules at all the municipalities, but that's getting done, so
Yep.
that's just a comment there. Page 4, the minutes. Copies of minutes shall be prepared, sent to all council persons and chairpersons of the member unit governing boards as soon as reasonably possible following the preparation. What I'm thinking is, are they looking at just a draft minutes, or once they're approved, they get sent out? To me, I'd think more of the approved side myself, because if something changes, then you send it back.
Well, we all get the draft minutes until we approve them at the
Yeah.
meeting. I think what we really should be doing, though, is sending the approved minutes
Blanket it out
to the township clerk or village clerk, because they're the ones that are responsible for the minute books for the community.
Because we're,
So do we either do that, or we delegate it to us and say, okay, each member of the council is responsible for seeing that the clerk of our community gets those minutes. So 6 of one, half dozen of the
well, it says it goes to the chairpersons of the member unit, and you have some already that serve as the chairperson. Bruce, for example, he's already the chair of his member unit. And, you know, and if the village president's here, then he would be serving as that. So I just have to go, in my case, to Mr. Dunn, and to Orian's case, to Mr. Barnett, to give him a copy, not that they're maybe interested in reading it, but according to this, this is what's supposed to be done. So not a big deal. So we'll make sure it gets in their hands. Robert's Rules of Order, item E. Robert's Rules of Order shall serve as a parliamentary authority for all council meetings. And I just made the comment, this may need to change unless there's a council member here that knows Robert's Rules of Order. So
I think you're doing pretty good.
So,
My 20-minute class at MTA.
It's meant to be a guideline anyway.
I think we all casually follow Robert's rules.
You do
I think
some
we're a little more courteous and tolerant when they're not followed.
so are you comfortable leaving it, or do you want to?
Yeah.
I'm good, so.
Okay, all right, so we'll move on. Appendix A, didn't see an Appendix A in there, if there is one, or we could basically just strike the description of Appendix A.
No, I think, well, let's talk about it real briefly. The Appendix A was strictly the description of the railroad from Boardman Road to Indianwood Road. So we easily can call that Appendix A. However, with the additional mileage that Orion Township has acquired, and we are helping them manage, we could ask them if they wanted to add that to the description, or in lieu of that, we really should have an agreement with them to be managing, working on their areas as well that are under their ownership.
Do we know where Appendix A is located? The description?
There is, I'm sure there's got to be one. I've seen one. I think it was in the offices. And all it was, I think Kristen Wilfang has it. That's where I know, that's where I've seen it.
So it's out there. we just-
Yeah, and it's only a paragraph. It's just like a legal description of property is what it is.
It's, I believe, is it in the 5-year plan, Doug?
I was looking to see if it's in my old scribbles. What if we, I don't know, could you use the map as Appendix A? Or is that would not
It
be?
doesn't describe it,
Right.
it shows what's
Legalese.
Yeah, legalese. But what we're looking for there, Donnie has it, we'll move on.
Okay.
On page 5, it talks about, on item number 7, recommend local ordinance provision to number of units as necessary to provide for the safety of the public utilizing council land or facilities. I'm thinking this is MDNR land, so should we add MDNR, including to utilize MDNR and council land facilities? Is it necessary to put it in that?
Well, they're the owner, right? They're the
That's my
owner of the
understanding,
land,
they own the land.
Yeah, I would say,
Yeah, not ours.
Okay.
And the MDNR, through the intergovernmental agreement between the Pollyant Trail and them, did authorize the Trail Council to authorize and manage as long as it's not in conflict with their mission. So it has to be, recreational related. It can't stop people from using the property if they're on it legally to do what they're legally able to do. So I don't have a problem adding it. It covers all bases.
I would think so,
Yeah.
myself.
I would say,
Linda, if you have any comments along the way, feel free to jump in. Okay. All right.
Watch what you wish
You too,
for.
Kevin. If you got something you want to add to this, feel free.
What number are you on?
We jumped up to page 5. Donnie, if you had something
No.
to fall back on. Okay, moving on to page 6. Fiscal year, we've discussed that numerous times. It's officially January 1 to December 31, so we'll insert that. Just at the matter, it was requested of council that each member municipality confirm that they're in agreement with that. And I've got confirmation of Orion, Oxford, and Village of Leonard. I haven't seen Edison Township or Village of Oxford. So, Eric, if you can pass that note on to see if you got anything in previous minutes.
Even if there isn't, though, this is a fresh agreement.
Yeah.
So if they don't, I don't think there's a rush to get them
No, there isn't.
to anybody, but, they should be aware of it, if nothing
Well,
else.
That's a good point, because these will go to each
Right.
board for approval.
It's going to be all re-signed, right?
Okay, that's fine. Moving on to item 6B, Appendix B, and that's for the operational project budget. I don't know if that's even necessary, because that'll change on an annual basis. Unless you even inserting the manual, I don't know if that's even necessary.
Well, I was thinking that we say that in Appendix B, according to the fiscal year, some way we make it the annual budget that we adopt will be Appendix B. What do you think? I mean, that,
So then it continues, you don't have to update it every year.
right, it's...
Appendix B will be your budget. It will.
Can't you just say that in this sentence? Eliminate appendix B?
Well, it looks like the reason for this was, when I was there, is that we needed an initial budget, so we attached it as Appendix B.
Okay.
Going forward, though, I don't know if you even really need that.
Yeah, because it's no longer initial.
Yeah, it's not initial. So
Well,
if,
yeah, you're right, the council shall each year develop an operational budget.
so if you want that, we can include it with that language. If you don't want it, we just strike it and approve our strike.
Strike.
I say strike.
Yeah.
We have a strike consensus. All right, we're on strike. All right, council member reimbursement. Each council person shall be paid a flat rate of $35 for council meetings actually attended. I just recommend that to be removed out of the agreement.
I would like to suggest alternative language to keep that so that there is so that it is addressed by the council. And I would suggest that council persons shall serve without compensation from the Pollyant Trail Council.
Okay, and
Because I know some communities reimburse their members and officials for
We do.
participating.
We
So
do.
that clearly it gets rid of any vagueness about whether it's not going to be the council, but we're not prohibiting them from being reimbursed.
all right, so you have that language in your mind forward as well?
Okay.
Okay, send that over as well. We'll have it. Donnie, anything?
No, I agree.
Okay. Moving on to termination dissolution. This is a red line draft paralleling the Pink Creek Trail has in their documents. And the reason it was created this way is because Pink Creek Trail evidently has received trust fund grants, and this is the language that's holding up the Pollyant Trail from being able to apply for trust fund grants. So what you have here is, if all these red lines were cleaned up, you'd have the exact language as what's in the Pink Creek Trail agreement.
Makes sense.
So I don't know what else to add or delete. Donnie, you probably have an insight for us here as far as what other language do we need to get trust fund grant eligible?
Linda was,
I have contacted Airline Trail, and I spoke with them. They have not yet had their recreational plan approved. So we don't know if the language they have for their bylaws and their local agreement will pass muster with the DNR.
Do we have a copy of their draft language?
No, we don't, because it's in for approval with the DNR, so they don't know if it's going to work or not.
so when we did the ribbon cutting, what's her name, from that?
Mary Carlo.
Mary, she said the Paint Creek Trail, I would use what they have,
Yeah.
and we just got a grant, so,
Yeah.
from the MDNR, so I would just say,
Yeah,
what you suggested is probably,
we're going to plagiarize.
Yeah, we're-
just take off the Paint Creek and the date. That would be my
Yes,
suggestion.
yeah, well, I included that to show you what the language was for comparison purposes, and you can decide for yourself if something was missed. Linda,
That works, we should use it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Because
okay.
I believe in the near future, we're going to be applying for some trust fund grants, so we need to get it cleaned up and pretty.
Then for the benefit of the Pollyant Trail Council and the television audience, can you tell people about the Airline Trail?
The Airline Trail is a new trail that actually broke ground today. And it's going to be, I'm not quite sure how many miles they're actually going to construct right now, but they received a large trust fund grant, and they're making another lovely trail out there. I don't have a lot of information, I'm pretty laxed on that. I've been keeping my nose in my own backyard, but I would like to get some pictures and I'd like to take a big tour of that. I did talk to the manager on Friday. He called us in desperate search of an attorney. I did share our attorney information with him. But they are working to get their 5-year recreational plan approved. We broke ground today.
Where is it located?
I'm thinking it's Wixom, but I don't even.
Oh, is that the Fall Lake Railroad?
Yes.
I know Kristen was working on that, yeah.
It's kind of a big deal. It's another big section, and I can't wait to take a look at it. So
Okay.
I'll bring a slideshow in when they get it done. So, all the trail managers we're stealing from each other like crazy.
Okay, that's all the comments that I composed. Anybody else have any other comments on this local agreement? If not, what I'll do is I'll compose what I think I heard to try to get it in the form of a final draft, bring it back next month on our agenda, and potentially have it approved. Got a recommendation.
We're not, we're just doing this. Are we going to go to the bylaws?
We're going to that.
Okay,
Yep.
just government was spelled wrong.
Yeah, we'll get that all proofed out and try to get the language.
We're just-
Okay, we're going to move on to item 10B, Pollyant Trail Management Council bylaws review. This same thing, Aaron did the typing on it for us, appreciate that again. And I only had, I think, three comments on this version of the bylaws. The first one was in Article 2, that it's going between, meaning the Pollyant Trail between Indianwood Road, Boardman Road, and Anderson Township. So it's the idea that, I know it extends at least south of Walden, you just need to put a terminus or a beginning point in the bylaws, where that goes. On page 2, we just had a brainstorm of, these are Internal Revenue Code sections, and the way the Internal Revenue Code changes, are those still valid sections? And that's maybe an assignment for myself to check on that. And just going on the bottom of page 2 there, there's been the blank line and the interlocal agreement dated. And that, I would imagine, Mike, that would change to whatever we approve this.
I would agree. I would agree.
All right. So other than that, I don't believe I had any other comments. We're well done as far as concerned. So if there's nothing further, attachment, there's no attachment A, but I didn't see attachment A in the dialogue from somebody else. So
Not to,
you're fine.
on page 5 of the bylaws, under conflicts of interest, it says "and" instead of "and." In other words, affiliated with an organization, not "and," A-N-D. Little typo, that's all. Thought somebody might want to clean that up. And then there's underlined voting, be voting.
Okay. Which?
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Other
fine.
than that, great job. I mean, that's impressive.
And under disclosure, where did you see that? Right up.
Aaron was nursing the baby.
Section 3A.
Oh, it's right, second line?
Yeah, second line.
It's doing a lot of things.
Spell check wouldn't catch that because it's...
No.
And wilt is in there too.
I'm sure.
He was wilting
Sure.
it, he did it on page section 5.
After 3 hours of typing.
At one point, I typed trailway, 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 three times. Wow.
Take me home.
Pick it out.
I'll take the effort for changing a couple words versus the whole thing. So if there's nothing else on that as well, I'll bring this back and we'll have that too.
Thanks, Curtis, for your,
Definitely.
thank you, and Aaron, both of you guys.
Very
You
well done.
did it and you like proved it.
Well, thank you guys for your input too. So we'll get this approved as a group and everybody will move forward.
I have gossip. So the Paint Creek Trail will not even remotely consider adding or subtracting from their interlocal because they don't think that they could ever agree on how it should be changed. So what we just did, we'll work around our interlocal at any opportunity we can because we're afraid of opening it back up. So I commend the board. So that's-
Well, we could still get some pushback, from each community after they review it, but I think we're amenable to working it out, so.
When you submit it to the communities, would you be defining what's changed to kind of help them get through it, or are they going to think you reinvented it?
Usually what we do for us, we give them existing copy, red line copy, and here's the clean one. So we take what we have, what we're planning to do, and here's what it'll look like if you approve it. So that they've got all the information they need to make a decision. So that's the approach I'm going to take.
Changed.
Okay, we're going to move on to the added item 10C, the website update. Donnie, you had some comments previously, so probably want to have a motion or discussion before the motion, and we'll act on that.
Well, my point is that I think that we have been at this for a really long time since I've been on the board, that it's been a struggle trying to get this pinned down, and that I would consider the possibility of having somebody else be the webmaster, somebody else being the host, somebody else being the server, getting our email and domain to somebody else or something else, or at least in our power, and to get our information back. So I think that I would like to propose that, but you don't want to take it away until you know that you have the domain, because then you might never get it, and that's kind of been the struggle. So I'm just wondering if we make a motion that we want from Lois all of our passwords, our domain, and have the control given to the Pollyant Trail where it should be, and then and if she doesn't, consider the possibility of having an attorney write a letter saying that we want our domain back. So, and I don't have the history and the time that Mike and Linda have into it, but I'm just wondering if we just take a one step further action other than giving her $420.
Aaron?
I thought she had mentioned that she was okay with doing that, as you discussed it last time, about giving us passwords and things like that.
Yeah.
Because she's essentially doing it for like $0. She doesn't know.
She watches these movies too.
We've reimbursed her for,
Yeah, I mean-
for those costs that she incurs doing it. But yeah, I don't know, and that's one thing I'll take some responsibility for, is I don't know if it's in her name with using the Pollyant Trailway, or if it is actually the Pollyant Trailway that has control over it, so.
Yeah, I sent there's an email that Lois wanted us to share
You just don't have
with the council. You know, at least for me, I really don't know where we stand. And, you know, and Wendy, you might have a better idea than I do, but I'm sure the council's really just out there hanging right now. What are we doing?
Well, I went on the website right before I came to the meeting tonight, and there isn't really anything. It just came up the other, probably Sunday night it came up, sort of. I mean, if you take a look at it, it says PollyantTrailway.org at the top, and there's a couple of like underlined words where you would go and hit it. It's to say it's a skeleton, it looks like something you would type up, like
Good chance.
a agenda. I mean, it's just not very,
It's not what we expect to have happen.
Not even close, not even
That's for sure. Elgin?
I did look at it, I saw the site, there's nothing out there really to speak of. I think according to the webmaster, she was going to be up and running within a week.
right.
I think a lot has been said, nothing has been done. I think it's time that we look beyond what we've got going here and search for another webmaster. And I don't think this is ever going to make any progress. And I don't necessarily think that $400 is a whole lot of money, but it's not accomplished anything either. So we might have to spend a little bit more money to somebody else. I wouldn't let the money be the deterrent. I would be looking at the results of what you're going to get. And it depends on the individual and the skills or her skills to do this. But check the reputation by checking people that, you know, have used their services. Make sure that we're solid with it before we move on to the next issue.
I'm disappointed that it isn't up and running better than it is, and it's still, and you can't, if you search for PollyantTrailway.org, you don't get it, because she changed the name. She has like
Well,
extra, like a period in a dash or something,
Just sign this one.
because she couldn't use get the Pollyann Trailway to work. So what I would like to suggest to the council is that we authorize the trail manager to explore options and bring them back to us at our next meeting for addressing the performance issues we're having, and make a suggestion as where she thinks we should go from this point forward.
So what you're saying is to continue on, which is not what Elgin was saying. Elgin's saying it's time to make a change.
Well-
My opinion would be that we should make a change. I think based on what I've heard so far and the performance, I think we need to end this chapter and start a new one.
Elgin?
Yeah, I did work with the website that the village is dealing with right now, the police department in Oxford. You might check with the village manager and make contact with that group. They're very good. We don't necessarily have to use their complete services because of the expense involved, but we maybe take a segment from them.
You know, and I think the biggest concern I have going forward at all is we have to have our history back. We have to have all of the emails, we have to have all of our stored correspondence. We have to have the passwords, we have to be able to change those passwords. We have to get it under our control. And I think going forward too, the council, not one person needs to be in charge of that. I think we need at least 2, possibly 3 people. You need to be able to not, you get somebody that dies or moves on or whatever. If they have control of it, you never get control of it again. You need to have more hands on it.
Elgin?
I have one more possibility, that is I'm working with an IT guy right now. We just moved the studio, Oxford TV, over to Seymour Lake. And that was a horrendous project. We finished it in about 24 hours. By the way, they are up and running right now.
It's gorgeous.
So, but this guy, he has all kinds of contacts, and one of those contacts, or several of those contacts, has to do with website development. This guy is a super sharp guy when it comes to code. So I will check with him, get back to you.
Okay, that
Maybe he
sounds
has some suggestions.
But what you mentioned, to getting the history back and all that, and the passwords, that's step one.
Right.
Mhm.
I'm not saying we should immediately leap into something else, but that would be step one. Make sure that we get that,
Under our control.
yeah.
And by the way, I might say, that's very easy to get. She's got it compiled, I'm sure. Shouldn't be a difficult job to get that from the website right now, from the webmaster.
She did
She's
say
got it
that she
backed
had it
up.
all backed up, so
Yeah.
it seems unusual that you can't get something better up than what we've got right now.
Right.
And I guess that goes back to my point. I wasn't saying to keep you, I didn't mean to infer that we stay with anybody. I'm saying Linda should be able to decide and give us the information. We've given her priorities. It sounds like we want passwords, we want our backed up material, particularly anything that might fall under freedom of information. And as long as she acquiesces to that, then we'll make a decision
I agree.
at the next meeting
I agree with
about
that.
what we're going to do going forward. But I hate to close the door and make it hard for her to work, for Linda to work with whoever.
Oh, no, yeah, that's not how I meant it, not that drastic. We have step one is to do exactly what you just explained, the transition, and then look at all our options, because, this really baffled me. I mean, I have a car club, and we have a website, and we don't have near the problems that we seem to be experiencing here. And the guy that we have as a webmaster is a self-learned retiree, like me.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt on council's part that we expected more than what we're getting.
Yeah.
So Linda, what's your plan, I guess, of attack here?
Well, I think I'll make contact with Lois and just basically explain the situation, that we do need our passwords, all of our past history, that we need to have it in a separate location. I mean, we need to have that in a separate spot. And I'll just explain to her, we need to have that under our control, we need to get our domain name under control and under our guidance, and then we'll kind of proceed from there.
And we'll set a due date for that?
The next meeting, hopefully,
Next meeting.
I'll have it by the next meeting.
No, we need to move that up. Don't give her
Okay.
time to stretch this out. We need to know, because if she doesn't, then we have a backup plan in place to act on at the next meeting. Donnie?
I'd like to make that motion to have our webmaster to, within 7 days, supply our passwords, our domain address, all the, what else am I missing? Passwords,
Password,
domain,
server, information,
backup, server information
domain.
to the Pollyant Trail Manager so that she can report back to us of where we stand and what our next steps are.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have,
Can I ask just a question? If necessary, I think we should ask for ownership. If she doesn't, if she has been proxying for us,
Yeah, you
under her name,
Yeah, that's a good
we
point.
want to make sure that it's transferred, that our name is transferred to us if it isn't already, as far as the web goes.
I'll change my motion
Thank
to
you.
read that, yeah. Supply the backup information domains and ownership
There you
of
go.
our
Right.
Perfect.
web.
Now, are we clear on what form that she's going to give that to you?
No, no. I haven't been able to get a lot of information from her. She just keeps saying she will give it to us, but I haven't gotten it. And, up until I get a motion from the council, I don't, I didn't want to push too hard and, make waves before I had to.
okay, we need an amendment we need a second to the amended motion. Eric?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Steele, second by Councilor Sant to authorize the trail manager to request all information in regard to the website, including but not limited to passwords, domains, addresses, server information, and ownership, to be provided to the trail manager within 7 days of this Pollyant Trail meeting dated March 20th, 2019.
Can I make one more comment?
Yes.
Again, in what form are you going to get that information? Should we tie that down?
It'll be electronic.
Well,
The version of the data?
yeah, I don't want to leave that, make sure that we're intelligent. You got an idea?
It depends on how much space it takes up, but it shouldn't be that large where USB, could handle it probably.
Well, that's what I'm getting at,
But
It
not
might be
knowing
a good
the
idea to
volume.
tie down how we're going to get that.
Yeah,
Any other, so you agree with that?
I do. Yeah.
Should we make that part of the motion?
What was it? So what was the line of how it comes
In
in?
other words, define exactly how you're going to receive the information. We know what, we know when, now we would address how. So there's well, I thought you wanted, something written on a piece of
Do you want
paper.
to buy like flash drive?
What source is it going to go on?
And you suggested what, a flash drive?
Well, it depends on the space.
Yeah, depending on the size.
Yeah.
If we need to- if we need to buy-
64 gig or something along that line, a flash drive will handle it.
It's not more, how much?
Worst case, get a portable
Hard drive, copy.
backup drive
Right.
for $40 or $60 and have her put everything on a backup drive, depending on the
You
size.
can get you can buy a terabyte for
Yeah.
what, for $75.
Ooh, what is that?
And then,
And there's saw that old,
1 TV for
$75?
That's
Oh,
why.
yeah.
So-
Yeah.
Maybe if we could amend the,
On a
Hard
terabyte,
drive.
yeah,
on a terabyte.
Okay.
Sounds like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Well,
We want to make this-
it's almost
make this-
impossible for
I
her
get
to
it. It's a
say she
matter of-
can't.
So
It's
we'll,
not gonna be-
Donnie will have to amend the motion, you'll have to second the amendment, and then include what language you want.
what medium,
What medium.
yeah. And that will define the medium.
I know, let's vote on this one and you make your own motion.
Okay.
Be easy with that, I don't know if that would be
We
easier.
can do that. We can do
Okay,
that.
all right, then
So-
I'll make a motion.
Wait a minute.
We gotta finish the first
Yeah,
one.
get
Oh,
a
sorry.
vote on the first one. Why don't we do a roll call on this? We'll have it for the record.
Okay, you want to restate the motion or no?
I think Kurt.
I think we got it.
You
We
got
got
it? Okay, here we go then. Ready?
Yeah.
Bruce Pearson, absent. Erickson,
Yes.
Donnie Steele.
Yes.
Aaron Watley.
Yes.
Elgin Nichols, yes. Curtis Wright.
Yes.
Mike McDonald.
Yes.
Joe Frost, absent.
Okay, the motion carries. All right, Eric, you have the floor.
Okay. I'll make a motion then that the information from our current webmaster, the request to get the history, passwords, what else do we have?
Archived.
Ownership,
Yeah, backups.
Domains, passwords, addresses, server information.
right,
and
all that, that she will supply that to the trail manager in the form of a terabyte or a flash drive. Depending on the size of the data, will determine the media. Now, should we say that council will pay for the media, or, because it's gonna cost,
At a cost not to exceed $100.
okay.
Well, she might borrow.
Well, we're going to own it, so if she copies it, we should just get it.
Just get it for the price.
Okay, add to the amendment then that the media at the expense of the Pollyant Trail Council,
No more than $100?
no more than $100. You're right, Elsa, because we will own it, therefore we'll be.
I'll support that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Stump, second by Councilor Nichols. I guess I'll paraphrase that we want all the information on a flash drive / terabyte not to exceed $100. Based on that, we will have a roll call.
Okay, Bruce Pearson, absent. Erickson,
Yes,
Donnie Steele.
Yes.
Aaron Watley.
Yes.
Elgin Nichols, yes. Curtis Wright.
Yes.
Mike McDonald.
Yes.
Joe Frost, absent.
Okay, that motion carries. That concludes the business of the Pollyant Trail. Aaron, you have a comment?
I would just, I mean, we don't need to come into that conversation being like demanding.
Oh, no.
She's done this work for a very long time, at a very minimal cost.
Right.
So we're very appreciative of
Very.
it. We just would like the information as we proceed.
And I think it's not, we need to have it as the owners. I mean, it's never a good idea just to have one person in a group solely responsible for everything and other people that need the information not to have access to it. It's kind of like the same thing with our credit card. There's 3 credit cards that are in lock boxes and 3 people that can access that information online, or any of you can't. And I think that's the best way of keeping things under control and safe. If somebody thinks somebody's doing something or this, the best way is just to take a look at it. And I think that having it, if we get hacked again, we have it. If we get hacked, then this one is hacked. And I just think having it in several places is just a really good idea. I think, yes. She's worked very hard. She has a very big vested interest in the trail. She should be commended for that.
In any kind of business, it's a good idea to have checks and balances regardless.
Correct. Correct.
Well, this will tell where we're headed by the next meeting. Okay, moving on, public comment.
I have just a little side note. The trimming at Paint Creek started today. Scotty Lynchfield is working over there. Talked to Oakland Township yesterday about it. So they're doing the trim over there. It's their first trim in a very long time, and I warned them that there would be some cleanup, but that they would do a very good job. It needed to be done. And I said, with us, it's taken now, 3 years? And it's really showing some really good results, but the first year is painful.
Aaron's guys were out there today.
Cleaning up.
Cleaning up.
Yeah. Now, question, why is Rochester Hills not doing that?
They had their own machine.
Well, Rochester Hills has their own machine, but, okay. Just a general
some questions are, never ask a question unless you already know the answer.
Well, I knew the answer, I just didn't know the question, I guess. But, yeah, so anyway, so it's gonna look nice. It was really overgrown, and I think they'll.
Well, let's hope they can keep up with us, right?
Well, nobody's gonna keep up with me, but that's another story.
We like that. All right, council member comments. Aaron, start on your end.
Happy spring, everyone.
Yeah, it just happened, didn't it?
Today,
Yeah.
Ice cream, free ice cream.
Get my scarf out, Gary. No, yeah, that's it. Just have fun, get outdoors, and enjoy the trail.
Don?
No, good.
I want to apologize to the council for being late. It was a close call. I had a meeting in Mount Clemens. It's amazing how fast you get over here. I was ready to make a phone call to somebody, a buddy, to get me out of a situation. But anyways, I apologize.
Apology accepted. Elgin?
I'd like to thank Curtis Wright for all the work that he's done on the interlocal agreement review and also the bylaws. Great job.
All right, Mike?
I mirror that sentiment. I want to recognize Aaron too, because he got us up online with that document, and we got a chance to get familiar with it and make some suggestions. That's like a giant step for this council to be able to communicate like that.
Then I can even figure out how to get to it.
Well, thanks.
Thanks for bringing us
Hey,
in the
you're
right
dragging us along, Aaron.
Linda, update on the water fountains. When will they be in service? Or
well, I actually checked with the water department upstairs, and probably, we usually shoot for like the first or second week of April. It depends on the frost. When do you guys open up your water fountains?
I don't know, I just got an email about your water fountain today, so,
Oh, okay.
just right now.
Yeah, oh, just right now, well, I was talking to him, right, just right now, today. Yeah,
Probably not for a couple, at least a couple weeks.
yeah. Usually it's in April,
Okay.
because we don't want anything to freeze. Usually in April, the hard, prolonged sub-zero temperatures, I pray to God, are gone. So I did talk to him, Mitch, and do you have our meter, or just Mitch?
Yeah, that's what.
Okay, so once we get it out, Mitch will grab it and throw it out there, and then in Leonard, we'll get that.
Got to get a water test. I got the annual notice for it, so
Yeah.
it's still too cold.
Right, we can't open it, and that one's too above ground. I mean, we have all of our stuff underground over at Clarkston, but at Leonard, we're above ground. And, you know, we gotta make sure the water's tested. It is tested every year, and it comes back clean. Or we don't have to test it, because the water's delicious.
we sent her the audit for Oxford Township, and as of right now, we put about $8,000 into our fund balance. So once it gets audited, then we'll know. We're on the plus side there. Saturday, April 13th is Open the Trails Day.
Yes, it is.
And then there'll be the event going on that we approved. And in conjunction with that, the first NOAS collection date is on that same day, too, April 13th. That's at the Oxford Middle School. So if you want to take some of the weight off from your collection. Oh, you don't do it this year? No,
Yeah,
this
sure.
year.
It's like the-
We need a site.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, that's there. And council would like to see a letter to the Boy Scouts, recognize them, thanking them for what they do, such as Lance Kennedy for the Dog Week Day.
Absolutely.
So,
They're doing a great
that,
job.
and check with them. So, other than that, no more from the chair at this point. So, with that, a motion for adjournment is in order.
Make a motion that we adjourn at 4:22.
Support.
Motion by Councilor Nichols and second by Councilor Steele to adjourn the meeting at 4:22. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.